So our weekly data from last week is here. And of course, we're talking about the middle of January, across the 16 key neighborhoods in Brooklyn that we track. So Donald, in the luxury market above 2.25 million, it looks like the in-contract activity relative to the new to market listings is looking still pretty strong.
Yeah, last week we had 13 go into contract and only 10 entered onto the market. So, certainly that dynamic there works for sellers, less inventory. And so a decent number, slightly off the pace of last year, funny enough, but still a healthy amount of activity on both sides of that equation.
Let's talk about the townhouse resales in this luxury market and where those numbers are.
So, right. So, at four come to market last week. That's one more than the week before, and two less than the first week of January, but way above average what was going on later in the year, November, December. And on the in-contract side, we had 5 deals, which is a slight dip from the previous week of 7, and kind of on average over the last, it's kind of an average number for the last 6 or so weeks. So decent again for the time of year that we're talking about. Typically higher priced assets. Buyer pool may not be fully focused on what's happening right now.
And a range of price points in those numbers?
Yeah, a lot of the both on the new to market and in contract side, it's between the 2.25 and just under 4 million is where most of the activity is. One $7.5 million townhouse came to market, Brooklyn Heights. So that's kind of the outlier there as far as what happened last week, and that deal there pulling up averages on the new to market side.
So in the below 2.25 million market, we're still seeing a nice little bump up in the new to market and the in contract numbers week on week.
Yeah, 57 new to market last week, over 41 the prior week, and on the in contract side, 34, 4 more than the prior week of 30. So yeah, those are nice trend lines there. New inventory outpacing demand, which is good. So as we know, inventory drawn down significantly as we wrapped up 2021.
So where do we believe that we need the most inventory right now? Because we talk about the need for inventory. What sort of price points and asset types are we talking about here?
Yeah, so back to the luxury segment, just as we mentioned, 2.25 to just around 4.5 seems to be a healthy number of buyers out there for all asset types on those price ranges. So any new inventory there, I think would do well right now in the marketplace. And then on the sub 2.25, is what kind of been talking about this, I think, for more than a year now. Anywhere between 6 and $1 million or just over $1 million is the most kind of active range of pricing in that segment of the market. New inventory coming online often, but then equally the absorption of it occurs pretty quickly.
And finally, we hear people talk a lot about spring selling season. We mention it, other people mention it. What does that actually mean for people? And what advice would we give to people who may be on the fence slightly about whether they go to market in the spring or whether they wait until the summer?
Yeah, so, historically in Brooklyn, New York City, spring selling season, April, May, June, kind of peak as far as number of deals going into contract, most inventory out there, a little bit less of a season just post Labor Day up until about Thanksgiving. So, again, as we just talked about, price range matters. Neighborhood could matter, asset type could matter as well, but price range for sure. There's a kind of a healthy appetite for certain properties. The ones we have in the market right now, seeing tremendous turnout for the listings that we're actively marketing, and which is great for our seller clients, tough for the buyers. So very, very active buyer pool, million, 2 million, it's set up to almost 4.5 million. Your asset price above there, you want to be more, I think, in sync when you think the buyer pool will be greatest. So certainly higher priced assets, as we know, townhouses for sure. Right now, not historically the time of year when those buyers are focused on their purchases. So you just always want to keep an eye on competitive inventory and kind of like, sync it with when you think that the buyers may be there. And obviously, we can talk to you about that particular home that you have and that price point, and assess what's happening in the market and give you specific guidance there, of course.
That's great. We'll be back next week, of course, for more information. I'll see you then, Donald.
Have a good week.
Bye.